It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. All right, energy. Ton of energy stories from this week that we haven't gotten to.
Yeah.
And we must, because this wasn't hard to predict. First one, Ford learns a brutal EV lesson from the Wall Street Journal. The car maker takes a $19.5 billion write-down on its electric vehicle business.
Oof.
Not long ago, automakers, remember when the leaders were up there?
Oh, yeah.
You know, electric vehicles, the future, the future, the future, the future, the future.
Not so much.
They were touting electric cars as the future. Well, now they're slamming the brakes. See Ford Motor Company's stunning announcement Monday that it will take a $19.5 billion charge on its electric vehicle business.
Man.
Said Ford CEO Jim Farley. By the way, listening to him the other day, I was like, stop it. You sound like an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, well, we didn't know this was going to happen.
Yeah, you did.
Instead of plowing billions into the future, knowing these large EVs will never make money, we are pivoting. Ford CEO Jim Farley said as he explained the company's plan to boost its lineup of gas-powered cars and hybrids. Ford will also scrap its all-electric F-150 Lightning pickup, which has been a favorite of the EV-loving press.
What?
The EV-loving press.
It has? Was it a favorite?
Was it Biden who drove that? Did Trump also drive that?
I don't know. I don't remember.
No, Trump drove the other company. It was Biden who drove.
Trump, I know, drove a Tesla back when he was friends with Elon Musk. I'm old enough to remember when they got along. They're getting along again. But.
Yeah, there it is. Biden test drives Ford's new electric F-150. That was it. Yeah. During the unscheduled test drive, nothing was unscheduled. Biden, a self-described car guy, drove the vehicle on the test track.
I'm a car guy.
And commented to reporters, "This sucker's quick."
I'm a car guy, Jack. All right.
I didn't know this one.
That's where I keep all my secret files
now
in the car.
This must all be true because AI Overview says it is. Following the event, I don't remember this, there were false claims online that he faked the drive and that a passenger was secretly steering with a second steering wheel.
Yeah.
Those claims were debunked by Ford and news organizations, which confirmed there was only one steering wheel in the vehicle.
That's hilarious.
Wow. And the passenger was a Secret Service agent.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we told you there was going to be problems with the F-150.
Well, almost immediately you started seeing the feedback of, oh, my gosh. Because you're calling on a larger vehicle to do a job, especially in the pickup market. SUVs, the payload is usually the kids. If it's a pickup truck, the payload is a number of things. You needed to pull whatever. You need to load whatever in the back. It's doing a job, even if it's not bought for a commercial purpose. It's quite often, most often, at some point going to be doing a job like that, and you're adding extra weight to it. They're heavy to begin with. It's not going to pan out, and then the reviews coming back going, I put my camper trailer on or my boat on, and then the mileage range dropped dramatically to a point where what just wasn't realistic.
Well, this is where the company CEOs who are out there with the unions has everybody. This is a perfect example of what Dad said. People want to be BS'd. Remember when they were all talking about it and touting it and everything else?
Yeah.
And they knew they were going to get their ass kicked on this.
Oh, yeah. They had to have known.
Ford has lost $13 billion on its EV business since 2023, with bigger losses expected in the years to come.
Oh, my
Why?
God.
Because the subsidies are gone.
Yes.
Last year, Ford lost about $50,000 for each EV sold.
Wow.
And remember, you were getting, I said subsidy, which it is, the tax credit. The $7,500 tax credit was still there.
Right.
They were still
Even
losing $50,000 for each EV sold.
Right.
The truth is that the business case for EVs have always rested on government subsidies and mandates. Now that this combination of government favoritism and coercion is mostly going away, most car makers have much less of a reason to make EVs. Well, especially since the government basically isn't forcing you to do it anymore.
Right. Funny how that works.
This is why, for all you youngins out there, oh, we really like this socialism. Yes, the central planners. Yes, AOC. I remember she was a central planner. We think the Green New Deal would work. Let government take over and figure out all the products that people need to buy.
Right.
No.
Well, and I'd say this, too. The domestic automakers, any automaker, has a greater concern, I think, long term. And that is, if it is generational, that more and more of the next generations don't want to own a vehicle. They don't even want to rent a vehicle, like long term, like lease a vehicle. They don't want to have any ownership responsibility whatsoever. If that is a growing trend, and it isn't temporary, then you've got a problem even with gasoline vehicles. Because how do you get them back to that? If the culture of, I guess really it is the culture of freedom when it comes to cars. When we were growing up, man, you wanted to learn to drive as soon as possible. You wanted to get a car as soon as possible because that meant freedom to you. That clearly still exists and is the most dominant in terms of the demand for vehicles. It's not just a necessity in order to commute. It's also, I want to own a car. I want to, the car that I want, personalize it or buy the one that best fits me, that kind of thing. But if there is a growing trend of, I don't want any of the responsibility or the payments, because the Wall Street Journal did a piece a few weeks ago. We've hit the threshold.
1,000. You see that?
Yeah.
Was that the story about $1,000 in payments?
Yeah. The $50,000 average new vehicle price was that threshold that we've hit, and it's a wall for the automakers.
And it's $1,000 a month.
$1,000 a month, and then your insurance, and then your gas. So all of that, and then oil changes, tires, all the maintenance that's required.
And auto repairs. This is the one thing that's never talked about. If you look at what has skyrocketed, even post-Biden, it's automobile repair. I think it's like up 16% over the last year on top of everything that we've seen.
And part of that is a greater demand. Part of it is parts, getting parts, and they're more expensive now. But also it's the growing demand for keeping that vehicle longer and not buying a new vehicle for a lot of people. But beyond that, again, if there is a decision to be made, because if you think about it, all right, what am I going to pay? I'm going to pay a few hundred a month in insurance. I'm going to pay, who knows how much in gasoline and maintenance and everything else, and $1,000 a month for a payment. Well, and then rent's going through the roof. I have a decision to make. And that is, do I live close to work? Do I move close to work? Because the generation also, there's a lot of stuff going on in housing and a lot of assessment going on in housing that The older generation is keeping their houses for longer. They're not upgrading, which means existing homes aren't as available, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you see a trend like that, you automatically think that there's still this great demand for that next generation to get into homes. Only when it comes to, again, and rent goes through the roof too. So you're going to pay one way or the other. But home ownership, again, isn't on anywhere in the future for a lot of people that are in that generation of 40, let's say 25 to 40 years old. Because, again, they don't want the ownership responsibilities. I don't want to have to pay the repairs on a home. I don't want to have to, because eventually, even if you buy a new home, you're going to have repairs. And so if I'm only going to live in it a few years and I don't gain any much appreciation in that home and I don't gain much equity in that home, is it the proper investment? Or should I just sign a 1-year lease at a time, 6-month lease at a time, and just rent and live closer to work? I can move about as I need to from time to time. Again, these are all generational questions. And if the trend is that I don't want the responsibility of ownership of property, then there's a big problem with the OEMs. That has to be a great concern. And certainly when it comes to housing.
We've also talked about the increase in cars was also not just what would cars have been? What would the inflation rate of automobiles have been over the last 10 years if EVs didn't exist? If they weren't taking a $50,000 loss, as Ford was, on every vehicle, they add on to the vehicles, the gas vehicles that are selling, it adds on to the price there.
Right.
But you make a great point. If you make it so expensive where you have a generation over the last 10 years where millions of people say, I don't want a car anymore.
Right.
Even if you go back to gasoline and the price comes down a little bit, you've created a culture of people saying, because it's a we've talked a lot about, culture. There was a culture that really came from our parents that were Depression era parents and then grew up in the 50s and the 60s, cars, cruising. I remember, does anybody cruise anymore? Think about it. That was part.
You have car shows, but it's not like cruising was back then, where it was a regular thing on Friday and Saturday night.
I remember. This goes back to this would have been in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And when I moved to Marshall, Texas, the first day that I was there, I met some people. I moved into my apartment, people that lived in my apartment complex. And they said, "Hey, come on out with us." Now, they were a couple of years younger. They were, I would probably was in my late 20s. They probably were in their early to mid 20s.
Mm-hmm.
I go, "Where are you going?" They go, "We're going cruising." Now, this is in Marshall, Texas.
Oh, yeah.
A small town.
Right.
And they went cruising up and down the main drag.
Well,
that was,
I can
up
tell
one
you,
end, back down the other.
Yep.
And it was like, that's what we're doing tonight,
and
is
it
cruising.
was constant.
And you stopped in at the fast food place or
Yep.
whatever, ice cream, and then
Sonic drive-in,
right,
whatever.
and ended up doing it for 2 or 3 hours.
Yep.
Everybody went back home again. I mean,
Yep.
it was actually still something that people. I wasn't doing it at that time. I mean, but people were still doing it in small towns because you had a car, which means you drove around it. And I remember in the 70s, we used to drive or jump in the car. You just drive around your community. You just drove around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In Del Rio, it was Avenue F. The main drag was Avenue F. In the town where I graduated high school, Wichita Falls, Texas, it was Kent Boulevard. And it was always active on the weekends. Yeah. Sometimes it was scary how active it was. And then at stoplights, kids, we were all kids, jumping out of their car, getting out of one car, getting into another, or screaming through the window at each other, yelling, and it was loud and very, very active. But it was that sense of, this is part of our freedom. This is part of the coming of age.
And freedom meant I can do and go where I want, when I want, for whatever reason I want.
And now that they have a computer in their hand at the age of probably 6 months, I'm guessing, now they issue them in the nursery at the hospital. They have a smartphone in their hand. Very early on, they're going to be staring at that smartphone screen, and that's their virtual world. For us, our world was real, and, cruising was kind of a thing.
It was,
But it was part of that coming of age, of getting out there, showing off your car a little bit,
right,
if you had one to show off. And then it was being a part of that group. It was real live social media.
Right. The 80s, so, I mean, that was sort of the end of the whole cruising thing. It was really big in the 50s, 60s, even in the 70s it was.
Malls took over as the place to be.
Great point.
And when that happened in the 80s, then cruising just kind of went away.
More on the energy situation and how everything that was proposed was a line of horse manure. And we'll show you where it's going. Coming up next, 866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Managing time is key. Successful owner-operators know that simply running hard is not enough. If it were that easy, anyone could do the job and expect the profits to roll in. It generally pays to slow down. There is a trade-off in higher costs, not to mention the increased risk for driving fast. If driving slower takes time away from you, you could find some of the ways to get it back. Never take time off during the last 2 weeks of the quarter or the last week of the month, when freight typically is abundant. Sometimes it works to your advantage to look for loads that take you through home rather than to home. The latter can interrupt your revenue stream and require additional time to get back up to full speed again. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics. Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We're Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Just a couple more sentences from this article on Ford and the EVs. The Biden administration sought to force feed the EV transition, which ramped up fuel economy and greenhouse gas emission rules. Car makers were required to produce increasing numbers of EVs, which they had to sell at a loss because of consumer demand was so weak. The Inflation Reduction Act's $7,500 EV tax credit boosted demand, but not enough to make the cars profitable. In fact, they were still losing $50,000 a vehicle. This year's GOP tax bill eliminated the tax credit in October, which, by the way, thank you, Mr. Trump, Ford's EV sales fell by roughly 60% in November. That didn't take long compared to the prior year. Earlier this month, the Trump administration announced it will ease fuel economy rules through 2031. This deregulation has enabled Ford to cut its losses, sizable as they are. A $19.5 billion charge will hurt them, but it's better than spending tens of billions more on making cars that not enough Americans want to buy. Yep. Ford can focus its investment on gas-powered trucks and SUVs that are popular with customers and earn, dare we say, a forbidden word, profits. If Ford makes more money, workers also make more in profit sharing. And this is where we went after the union leaders a few years ago on this.
Yep.
Where the union leaders were jumping behind it, and we said, you're doing your members no favor at all by doing this.
Right.
This is going to end up as a disaster for you. There's going to be layoffs because of it, and you're promoting it as if it's something great. Everyone was lying to you.
Yep.
Everyone was BSing you.
Yep.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio Radio. Season's greetings from the Uniden America Studios.
And we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Merry Christmas, a week away from the day. So more articles here. Reports of the death of the gasoline car greatly exaggerated. Andrew Studiford here from National Review. One of the more effective techniques of the central planners steering or attempting to steer the green transition was the idea of inevitability. This was the future. Get aboard. Gas cars equal horse and buggy, slow and sometimes unreliable to charge EVs, the radiant future.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is not exactly how things are working out, even before the U.S. changed course and the EU began to change course over EVs. Gasoline sales were hitting new peaks. After the pandemic, the International Energy Agency said gasoline demand would never surpass the 2019 level. Were they right? No. The theory was that as EV cars became more popular, appetite for gas guzzlers would be disproportionately impacted. This means that the fuel is likely to exhibit the earliest and most pronounced peak in demand of all elements of the oil market. The International Energy Agency wrote in an influential report in 2023, but demand quickly surpassed the pre-pandemic peak and kept on growing. Last year, gasoline consumption posted an all-time high of 27.36 million barrels a day. The IEA initially thought, again, that was the peak and suggested consumption would drop in 2025. Instead, year-to-date gasoline demand has jumped to a fresh record high of 27.62 million barrels a day. So you have that. Then you have this. New York forced to shift back to fossil fuel friendly in new energy plan, but the green mandates remain. From the New York Post.
Yeah.
They're sticking with green even when the light is flashing red. Well,
Yep.
At least green and red is Christmassy.
Yeah. There's that.
Hochul's growing embrace of fossil fuels grew tighter as a prominent state board approved an all-of-the-above approach to power in the Empire State while still spewing lip service to costly green initiatives. The plan by the State Energy Planning Board comes as Hochul increasingly slow walks the state's controversial 2019 climate law while voters grow frustrated over the rising energy cost. Hochul, in a letter accompanying the plan, argued New York needed to readjust its carbon-free approach, especially potentially to avoid especially potentially catastrophic recent energy shortages. I will not risk rolling blackouts or gas outages. The plan reflects that urgency, she wrote. My God. If you've sat in our seat as we've sat here for the last 30 years, you'd be saying the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And here another one, California stranded solar assets. Editorial board, Wall Street Journal, yesterday. Regulators force PG&E to keep open the money-losing solar plant that they've got there. What is it, the Ivanpah plant? Remember when climate lobby claimed that fossil fuels would become stranded assets, so oil and gas companies should start winding down their business? These days, that better describes some green energy investments. Ford Motor this week wrote down some $19.5 billion in electric vehicle investment. Now Pacific Gas and Electric is fighting California regulators to pull the plug on a costly solar plant. We wrote about that solar project in the Mojave Desert when it began operating in 2014. The $2.2 billion plant received investments from Google, NRG Energy, Bright Source Energy, as well as a $1.6 billion loan guarantee from the Obama administration. Don't forget a 30% federal tax credit and $535 million of a Treasury grant, your taxpayer dollars, just blown, going up in flames. Mm-hmm. The plant uses embryonic solar thermal technology that generated power from hundreds of thousands of mirrors, focusing sunlight onto giant towers, but it produced far less power than expected and at more than 4 times the cost of new solar projects. It was also the world's biggest bird fryer, incinerating thousands of birds a year. PG&E earlier this year announced plans to terminate its power purchase agreement with the plant to save customers money. The utility said it didn't need the electricity to meet the state's 60% renewable mandate or ensure grid reliability, since other solar projects combined with batteries could provide electricity at lower prices. That's another reason why California's electric rates are the second highest in the country after Hawaii. But all of this, I look at all these stories, everything we're talking about. Not only did everybody lie to you, but again, we go to my dad. Everybody wanted to be BS'd.
Yeah.
Perfect example of what Dad said.
Yep.
People wanted to be bull.
Yeah.
Bah.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say the word so bad just because of all the wasted hundreds of billions of dollars on pure crap.
Well, and it was easy to see from the beginning. It's a very simple process to work through. We said it for years. Take away the tax credits, the subsidies, the government money, and let's see what they do.
Well, here's one of the lies. If we keep with the renewable energy, the cost is going to come down. Lie number one.
Oh, yeah.
That's the biggest lie.
Yeah.
Well, if it's going to come down, it's going to be cleaner. Well, then they got to lie about it.
Right. And they had to cover it up with government money.
Yeah. And the BS became so great that many Republicans, even in the state of Texas, promoted this crap.
Government money.
Including
we
our
said,
current governor, who I voted for,
Yep.
who I like in so many other ways. Right before Free Zola, remember, received, the Wind Power Award?
Yeah.
And as we said, we don't care whether you're Republicans or remember Newt Gingrich who lost all credibility with us there, even before he went after Romney for his, being too much of a capitalist.
In 2012.
That's why we really don't pay attention much to Newt anymore, because he'll roll with the flow. Well, here's where the public's going, even if it's pure BS, and I'll roll along with it. And after the great things that he did in 94, for him to do that was, to me, such a betrayal to the conservative movement. Newt Gingrich has no credibility with this show anymore.
Well, and there is,
because sitting on the bench with Nancy Pelosi telling you to call your congressperson about what we can do for climate change, which meant spending billions of dollars. You and I remember the breakfast that he did, I believe it was in New England, where he said, well, even if you don't buy into it,
we got to get with the program.
Yeah, we got to get with the program.
The GOP has to get with the program. Right. It's hip to be into this kind of thing. It's trendy.
No, it's crap.
And, again, going back to the state of Texas or any state, you may think, well, this is going to be, of course, they had to come back and repair it after the public outcry and massive disaster that was freeze-pocalypse. But then, again, we looked at it from the beginning. When there's federal money being handed out, everybody gets in line. Everybody gets in line.
Yeah.
Everybody gets in line.
You'll have conservatives get in line for free money, too.
Yep. And they'll say we need to control spending while the right hand is reaching out for that check. All of the money. I would love somebody to do the math, because I don't think my calculator has that many zeros. But over the years, because you asked this question earlier, the inflationary costs added to vehicles for all of this over the years, just in the recent years.
Yeah.
By the way, this is aside from the other CAFE standards that started years ago and everything else, and how things had to change. They changed, basically, they started with changing the weight of the vehicles, the materials they were using, and the size of the vehicles and everything else to make it fit so that their fleet came out with the same average to meet the government standards. Take all that out of the equation, and what would you have? Where's the real demand for? What is the real demand for? Take the $7,500 tax credit away, and where's the real demand? Well, you're seeing that now. It was inevitable. It wasn't hard to predict. It was inevitable. The track is ending, and the train is going full speed.
Well, the only way they could sell it was by line.
Yep.
And a significant portion of the tens of millions of Americans didn't care or didn't want to research to see whether it was a lie or not. They simply wanted to buy the BS that there's some kind of magic wand out there that you can wave and everything will be fine.
It's all going to be good.
Instead of actually looking at the reality of science, engineering, chemistry.
Well, the willfully ignorant with the sun and the wind will provide. I still see occasionally come across a YouTuber that will float, up on the algorithm. And it's like, okay, I got to watch it for a minute, see how long I can get through this, because we're off the grid, and here's why, and you don't see as many, by the way. I don't see as many. That's what I should say. Everyone's algorithm is different based on what you watch on YouTube. But so I saw it just the other day, and the video was about a year old, but it was essentially this couple was saying, we believe we'll get everything we need from, capturing the rain, which is fine. I mean, we do that for our garden. I don't do it for my entire supply for my house, but they do. We will have a solar panel set up, which, of course, leaves them having to make decisions on power. And then funny, in the background, every once in a while, you hear a generator running. That generator's not running on solar power. And they say, well, at times we have to lean on, for backup, we have to lean on. Yeah, look, whatever you want to do in your individual life is one thing. But that mindset, when you multiply that out of the number of willfully ignorant people that have been told that basically Mother Nature's going to provide everything, you don't need all of these things. Wind and solar can do it all.
Well, no. And remember this one? Why aren't we doing it? Wind and solar are free.
That's the point.
Well, actually, oil's free.
Mm-hmm.
Coal's free.
Mm-hmm.
It's extracting it and refining it to something which costs.
Because they'll do the map there.
Same with wind and power.
Well, you'll have to drill for it. Well, how do you think you're going to capture wind and solar?
Right. Same thing. You've got to.
The panels don't just build themselves. The massive windmills don't just put themselves up out in West Texas.
Everything's sitting there. I mean, when it's sitting in the ground, everything is free. In fact, it's worth nothing unless you can actually extract it and make something out of it.
Well,
oil's worth nothing sitting down there, just like
if you kill one lizard drilling for oil, they'll shut your operation down. Countless birds have been killed by solar farms. Nothing.
Yeah. But it's just everything across. There were so many lies told in it. There was such BSing with the whole green energy thing for such a long time.
Yeah.
But Americans wanted to be BS.
No, they wanted to.
Many wanted to be BS.
They loved to believe in free stuff.
Yeah.
Look, we can just get it for free.
No, you can't.
No, you can't. And you never could.
We are Red Eye Radio.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I love that poll. I've never heard of the pollster, the Argument Vericite survey, but whatever this pollster is shows AOC with a slight lead over J.D. Vance in a hypothetical 2028 presidential map-up. She was all excited about it.
All right. Okay.
The result was within the poll's 2.7% margin of error.
Yeah.
Because it was her 51 and J.D. Vance 49. Man, this is the kind of stuff that, they get excited about it, which means she's thinking of running.
Oh, yeah. No, this is the kind of thing that would push her closer. The question would be is, you get that exploratory committee going and basically you're looking for donors. You're going to see, can we get the money? Beyond that, then it's her ego, which we already know is in place. So I wouldn't be shocked to see her in 28.
AOC.
Yeah.
Harris.
Kamala Harris, yeah. There was more talk about her.
Hey, Jasmine Crockett.
Right.
After not winning the Senate. So
Newsom.
thinking, I'm more popular across the country.
Yeah, maybe.
What a debate that would be.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.